Desperation, this brokenness inside, this deep pit of, I've got to get more of Jesus. I've had a taste and I've seen, but I want more. There's this deep groaning inside of you right now. That's why you're here. I believe that's why God's brought this video to you. The algorithm didn't cook this one up. Jesus himself, I believe, has brought you to this place because I believe in the bride there's an opening right now. It's an invitation. It's a window that if we'll take advantage of, we'll get into some depths of revelation and encounter and also breakthrough that we've been longing for. We've been needing. I don't know about you guys, but I need encounter. I need the touch of God. Isaiah 43:7 said that you were made for the glory of God. It didn't say namesake. It's talking about the manifest presence. We need the kiss of God in our life. We need the Psalms 45:2, grace is upon his lips, touch of God in our life. We need the Emmanuel, God with us, touch in our life. And we're going to be talking about this thing of desperation. And maybe you're here because you've been going through it. You've been going through it for a minute. And there's just, it's enough is enough. It's like, okay, devil, come out or I'm coming in after you, angst inside of you. And praise God for that because that's grace right there. But maybe this is coming to you because really your external experience is looking real beautiful right now. It looks amazing, in fact, but you have chosen not to define yourself based off of external variables and external experiences. That's called maturity in Christ. I know that I can't allow my external people, places, and things to define or to identify where I'm at and what season I'm at. I'm not going to settle for that anymore because I really believe that Christ died to free me from the external experience. That's why Paul, now listen, that's not an ole to the responsibilities of seeking to be at peace with all men, of doing everything with excellence that we put our hand to the plow of. That's not what I'm talking. Don't hear me wrong. What I'm talking about is my heart's connection to my external experience having enough power over me to be able to dictate my joy, my peace, my surrender, my rest at night. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, we're in the external experience. I'm simply saying that the promise of the gospel is not that your external experience is going to be great, because then we have to ask our question, great according to who? What I am saying is that no matter what your external experience is today, friend, son, daughter, whoever this is reaching, I want you to understand that there is a freedom internally through the risen Son of God who's seated at the throne because the war is over. What you're facing right now is a battle. The war has already been won. So now we take this understanding and it becomes revelation. It becomes heart knowledge. And now I'm putting into action and I'm declaring that my circumstance has no authority over me. Put that back in the chat for me right there. My circumstance has no authority over me. My situations will not sweep me under the rug any longer because I understand the authority of Christ that lives inside of me. Come on, somebody. He says that I'll leave and you'll do greater things than these. Let's go. Come on. So if you're ready, welcome back to Love Note. Grateful to be a part of your Jesus story. A small piece of your Jesus story supplemental to the local church work of being faithful attenders and goers to the house of God, being an active member that's serving. Come on, somebody put that in the chat. We got to be serving in the house of God. And I want us to understand that there's some beautiful imagery here for us in Luke's gospel. We're going to be in chapter 8, and we're going to be jumping in at verse 43. And this is the story of the woman that had an issue of blood for 12 years. She's spent all of her resources, and she's desperate. Okay, we're talking about desperation today. We're talking about desperation being a window, a supernatural opening and the invitation. And if you hang on by the end of this video, we're going to go through some step-by-step processes of how I can take advantage of this window that God's opening in my life right now. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and jump right into Luke's gospel, the great physician. Come on, somebody, the physician, Luke's gospel. He's the great physician. Don't get religious on me. But Luke was an under shepherd. He was a steward of the miracles and the revelations and mysteries of God. And he chimes in right here on this story that's, by the way, in 3 of the Gospels, I believe. Yes, it is. And in verse 43, it says, now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all of her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. So I want to paint a picture and kind of set the stage for us before we dive into what I believe God's shown me as we can steward and really fan the flame of this desperation, which I want to say is a gift from God right now. I want to speak that over your life. But I want to set the stage. Jesus is literally on the way to heal Jairus' daughter. He's on mission, but he's being reached in a certain place, okay? So the first step that we're going to want to take to access this point of desperation and take advantage of this window that God's got open right now over your life of desperation to enter into the encounter and the touch of God, the physical manifestation and touch of encounter, visitation, dreams, vision, all the things that are still available to this day. They didn't stop in the book of Acts. They're still available today. And for this window, if you want access to it, the first step is going to be this. It's humility. Let's look at this together. In verse 43, it says that she spent her livelihood and she could not be healed. Verse 44, she came behind and touched the border of his garment. This is speaking of the very bottom of the hem of his robe. So this is at the bottom of the robe, the hem of the garment, and this is where it's still believed and was believed at that time in the Jewish customs and history and their culture that this is where healing came from, was from the hem of the garment, and that's where they have the tassels hanging out. But this is beautiful imagery. She gets low. She makes herself low. Now, Jesus is on his way. He is on a mission of healing, and he is enthroned. He is covered and surrounded by many, many people. And here in a second, he's going to ask, who touched me? And they're kind of looking at him like, what are you talking about? Everybody's touching you. But there was somebody that touched him on that day in a very special way, and it was this woman with the issue of blood, and she touched him with humility. She touched him with humility that was marked by desperation. You see, when we get a little desperation in our heart, when we get the deep and dark night of the soul, when we get this in us, it's going to bring godly humility into our life. It's going to bring a willingness to surrender the God of dignity and get into the shadow of the Most High God. Come on, somebody. Psalms 91 reference there. To get into the shadow, to get beneath the wings. Come on, somebody, put that in the chat. Get beneath the wings. When we get beneath these wings through humility. Humility is the currency of desperation and is the currency of encounter. And this is when these windows are going to stay open in our life. We want them to stay open. So we open it with the touch of God through humility, through some desperation. I need it. I've got to have it. I'm wrestling through the night just like Jacob. Until you give my blessing, I'm not going anywhere. And this blessing, of course, is the touch of God. He is the blessing. And right here in verse 45, it says, and Jesus said, who touched me? And when all had denied it, Peter and those who were with him said, Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, who touched me? And Jesus said, yeah, but somebody touched me, for I perceive power going out from underneath. So the first thing is we need humility. And the second thing is we need a willingness to push through the voices, to push through the crowd of voices. And this is a picture of prayer and intimacy. We're talking about the window of prayer and intimacy being open today. And so we're in the place of prayer and intimacy. Number one, we enter into this window through desperation that's marked by godly humility. We make ourselves low. Psalms 95:6 says to kneel before the Lord and pray. And then second thing that we do is a willingness to fight through the voices. And there's a way to do this. This is the steps I was talking about at the beginning of the video. The way that we do this is by getting our place in our heart in a position of I'm turning my ears off or deaf to every other voice but His. And so what that's do is going to cancel it out. Have you ever seen that great movie by Kevin Costner, For the Love of the Game? When he was pitching on the mound in the final scene at the tens of thousands of people in that stadium, he said, clear the mechanism. He did the little, and all the thousands of people screaming, it went into a power vacuum. And this is a picture of prayer. We get into the place of prayer and intimacy through humility. And second, we press into the voice of God, the voice of truth, through turning our ears deaf to every other voice. So we're fighting through the multitudes. You see it here in the story, the imagery of her fighting through the multitudes. How was she able to push through the multitudes? First, because she made herself low. And second, because she clung to Jesus. She touched Jesus. And she touched Jesus because she was willing to fight through the voices or fight through the multitude. And these voices I'm talking about are literal voices that you can only imagine that they were yelling at her. But also second is this. These are the voices of dignity. Like, what are they going to think of me if I'm down there on my knees crawling through the ground? What are they going to say about me? She could care less what anybody was going to say about her. She needed the touch of God, and she needed healing. She needed breakthrough, just like you and I do today. And she knew that she was not going to get it unless she went straight to the source. She's got to cut out the middleman. Okay, and then we're going to land the plane right here for our time today. It said that Jesus perceived the power coming after him. Now, when the woman saw, verse 47, she was now not hidden. She came trembling and falling down before him, continued humility. She declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, come on, and this is the third and final trigger, daughter, be of good cheer, your faith has made you well. Now go in peace. So first, we're going to make it into this window. We're going to keep the window open through humility. Second, we're going to do it through a willingness to fight through the voices, to surrender the false god of dignity. And third, we're going to sustain and keep this window open that's open over your life right now through the willingness and the ability to touch Jesus, no matter what it costs. We're going to pay whatever price it is to touch God, whether it be through fasting, come on somebody, whether it's going to be through amplified time in the word, amplified time in the prayer, but the willingness to touch Jesus. And then you're going to see again, it's continued humility. So I want to paint is it's humility, which then opens the window. Now I come in, willingness to fight through the voices. That's patience, that's perseverance. I'm getting it until it takes place. And then third, we're going to need continued humility, because sometimes what you'll see is people will come in with humility, but then as soon as they get their touch, they're exiting in pride. Come on, we want to see right here that she continues to stay low and she continues to stay humble. So to recap for our time here today, we're going to get into this window of encounter, of breakthrough, of healing, of touch by being humble. And this comes from a place of desperation. I know I need the touch of God. And then two, it's a willing heart to fight through the voices, to persevere and to stand, to be patient until we get our touch. And then three, once we get our touch, we maintain and sustain that fruit that lasts that Jesus speaks of through staying humble and staying low. Y'all be blessed.